Hey guys, welcome back to the Garcon Means today we're doing NFL Week 8 Power Rankings. We are officially halfway through the NFL season, and we will be after this week. And here we go. We're going to go ahead. Since this is part 1, we're going to be starting with number 32 and going all the way down to number 17. So this is going to be the bottom 16 teams. I'm going to be posting a part 2 at the exact same time as this one. So if you're interested in seeing the top 16 before or after or instead of this one, you can go right ahead and do it. It should be popping up on the top of your screen. The link should be, or if you tap on your screen, click on it, whatever, towards the top, there should be a white little eye. Click on that one and it'll take you to an info box, and it should be there. You don't have to watch it, but I'd be very grateful if you did, and just know that it is there for you to watch as you please. Coming up first, we're going to have the bottom 8 teams that are having a pretty bad season. Yeah, you could probably say that about most of these. Obviously, 25 is going to be having a much better season than 32, but as I say in every video, I didn't rank these based on how many are having a bad season, in my opinion. I just ranked them in the bottom 8, got this. So, in my opinion, as everyone knows, you might as well just go ahead and skip to 31 at this point. In 32nd, we have the Jets. Obviously, terrible. I honestly thought they might get a bit better since they're getting Sam Darnold back. Nope. He comes in. He shows that he wasn't any better than Joe Flacco. And he's really going to have to step it up a lot if he wants to show that he is still a part of the Jets' future plans. He might have to win out. He might have to somehow bring him to 7-9 or to 9-7 at this point with some really good wins in there if he wants to even have the tiniest chance of being the Jets quarterback in 2 years. But right now he's not playing too well, and yeah, this whole team is basically a bunch of dumpster fires. It is terrible. I mean, there's not really much I can say. They don't really have a bright spot on this team. The only bright spot might be Jamison Crowder, who's questionable for this weekend's game. So I mean, this is probably not looking very good. In 31st, we have the Broncos. They bumped up a couple actually. I think they were at 30th and they bumped it to 28th because I thought Drew Lock would, go in there and he'd play pretty well. I thought they looked better with Drew Lock. And I knew they were playing the Chiefs and I didn't expect them to win, I expected them to, show some kind of life, show some kind of, hope for the future. But they went out there, they lost 43-16, and a lot of those, I think there was a pick six, there was a kick return for a touchdown. A lot of that had nothing to do with the Chiefs' offense. I think Patrick Mahomes actually only had one touchdown pass, and I think he only scored like 12 fantasy points. So a lot of it, again, their defense didn't play very well, but offensively wise, Drew Lock did not play well at all, and the Broncos are just collapsing in on themselves and showing that Drew Lock is looking more and more like a bust, which with each coming game. Now in 30th, entering the top 30, which really means nothing, but still, these two teams are kind of like the bottom of the bottom. In 30th, you have the New York Giants. They lost to the Eagles, who are not good at all. Really, the only good thing is that they did, their offense did look pretty good. You could say they didn't play too well outside of a few good plays. Obviously, looking at the 80-yard run there by Daniel Jones. While he did stumble and didn't score a touchdown, he did manage to run that far, and he did almost break away for a touchdown. So really, you can't really put that on him. I mean, he just isn't made for running. So the fact that he got an 80-yard run should be good enough. The trip was just he isn't supposed to run. He's supposed to throw and game manage. The Giants' defense also it didn't play very well at all. The thing that's keeping it above the Broncos right now is the fact that I think their offense has shown potential. Even in this last game, they were up by 21-10 at one point. They just choked really hard. And yeah, the Giants, not good at all in 30th. In 29th, we have the Jaguars, who bump up a couple because, in my opinion, I think they did really, they didn't really good, but they did better than I expected against the Chargers. They were actually up, I think it was 29-22 at one point. It might have been 29-25 at one point. I'm not sure. But I know that they were up by, they had a lead in this game, which is pretty good. Obviously we've seen the Chargers offense is really, really good. This Chargers team, they got Justin Herbert and they caught fire, and now they are doing really well. Their record really has nothing to do with how good they've been playing. They've come really close to beating some really good teams. They made the Chiefs come back and beat them. They made the Buccaneers come back and beat them. Obviously, the big game. They made the Saints come back and beat them. And then the Jaguars, that offense did show a bit of life. James Robinson, obviously, every single week he's just going off. This man is going to have some potential. And right now the Jaguars, though, I know I'm just saying all this good stuff about them. They haven't been playing good for the weeks past. They're 1-6. They had a bit of life this game. That's why I bumped them up 2. But really, they're not good at all. They put up a fight against this team, but in the end, they still lost by 10 points. They still allowed almost 40 points. It was not a good game, but it was better than what we've seen. So they move up a tiny bit. In 28th, there we go. In 28th, we have the Cowboys, who dropped down 3. Their defense played terribly. Obviously, they allowed 25 points. Really should have been 28, but Dustin Hopkins, the terrible Washington kicker, missed a field goal at the end. But still, they allowed all those points to that terrible Washington offense, who, towards the end of the game, they were just running the ball heavily. So really, if Washington had been trying to run up the score, I think they could have. I think it could have been a much worse game for the Cowboys. But Washington, they're going to take the win when they can. They're not going to risk throwing a bunch of big plays. They're just going to run the ball and run out the clock. The Cowboys also, a terrible, horrible hit by John Bostic on Andy Dalton. Now Ben DiNucci, who actually played pretty well. He had his first throw was for 32 yards. In my opinion, I think he had a pretty good game. The very little time that he played last week, I think he showed some fire. But still, it is definitely a step down even from Andy Dalton. He's still going to be pretty terrible. It would take a miracle, something like Gardner Minshew of last year, to get us. And I know he's not good now, but Gardner Minshew in those first couple, if you remember way back when, in his first couple of games, Gardner Minshew was really good. The Cowboys are going to need a miracle even to beat the Eagles next week. It's going to be, they're just collapsing in on each other. Collapsing in on themselves. Sorry, I can't talk. In 27th, we have the Falcons. They lost to the Lions. They choked yet again. They're 1-6. I keep on saying how good they are, but at this point, in the beginning of the season, they were scoring like almost 40 points at times. They were playing really, really well. They were just choking towards the end. Now they're just not playing well at all, and they are also choke. They'll get like a lead, and then they'll choke it up, or Todd Gurley scored like the first game-losing touchdown in NFL history. It was pathetic. And the Falcons, they're just terrible. They dropped down 6. I've officially lost all hope for the Falcons. They're going to need to do something. I've actually heard that they are considering trading Julio Jones. They are definitely prepared for a full-on rebuild. If they trade Julio Jones, that will kind of be our sign that, hey, they're giving up hope. Because really, he's their number one player. What they probably want to do is they probably want to trade him for like a couple first-rounders these next couple years and maybe a couple second-rounders. He is worth a lot. He still is one of the best receivers in the game. But yeah, we'll see what they can get for him. If they trade him, which I kind of doubt they will. In 26th, we have the Houston Texans, another team that I kind of gave up on hope for. They showed some flashes the past couple of weeks, but then this week it was just terrible. They got demolished by the Packers 35-20, and really I just had to drop them down. I was holding hope. I had them, I think, at like 17th. I now realize that was illusional. They dropped down all the way down to 26th. It was just a terrible showing. And I'm also hearing that they are considering trading Will Fuller, kind of like the Falcons situation. That's one of their best players. And looking at how they are, they really need to, build. Especially, you saw David Johnson. He fumbled a couple times, or maybe just once. I don't know. He lost a fumble. He didn't really put up much. Definitely a terrible trade there. Each week it's looking worse than anybody could have really imagined. He's looking like a terrible running back in this league, and definitely not worth what they gave the Cardinals. I know they got some picks, but still, the Texans definitely need to do something drastic. They are falling into, after making the playoffs and winning a playoff game last year, they have fallen into a pit of doom. In 25th, we have the Vikings. Really haven't played good for any of this season. They had a couple good games, obviously, against the Texans. They won one. But this week, they just, they didn't, wait, who did they play this week? I forgot. Who did they play? Did they play? Yes, they did. I forgot who the Vikings played. Who did they play? I'm struggling to figure out who the Vikings played. This is not good. This is not a good look, Carson. How dare you? Come on, Carson. Who did they play? Did they have a bye week? I can't figure this stuff out. All I know is that they're not looking too good. Let's move on. They're 1-6. They don't deserve to be higher than this. You can kind of see the little thing over here. I had already done all of them, and I just wasn't going to go through and fix 9 of these, so I just left it. I don't think this spoils anything. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. In 24th, we have Washington, who bump up 6. I mean, they had a good game last week against the Giants. They lost, but they still showed some, signs of life. Obviously, they barely lost by one, and a lot had to do, again, with their terrible kicker. And then you look at this week, they went out there, and they really kind of stepped it up. We're kind of seeing now how Kyle Allen is looking like a pretty good quarterback. They are in no way a good team, obviously. They're at 24th. It's not a good spot. They're at the bottom of the med category, which is probably still pretty bad. And then you saw Antonio Gibson kind of go off this week, 128 yards and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin. This is basically last week. We were basically seeing what Washington fans really want to see. Washington kind of clicked. They played perfectly. They basically, they ran up the score in the first half and then just drained the clock all of the second while their defense did the work. They now have statistically, they now have the best passing defense with, I think, 7 or 8 interceptions and their 4th best defense overall. So right now, Washington is in a pretty good spot, in my opinion. If they can get that offense up to average at all, I think that they seriously have a chance in the NFC East division. Obviously, they're only half of a game back. Well, they're going into their bye week looking pretty good. They have a week to prepare for a rematch against the Giants at home with fans this time. We'll see what they can do. At 23rd, we have the Bengals. They move up 3 somehow, despite the fact they lost, probably because they actually played pretty well. They kept it close with, in my opinion, a really good team in the Browns. They kept it really competitive. They looked a lot better than I think they did against the Colts. And I don't know what I can say. Their offense definitely looked better, in my opinion. Their defense is definitely, they really need to build up the team around Joe Burrow, but also their defense didn't really show up much. Allowing 37 points is not a good look. But yeah, the Bengals at 23rd. In 22nd, we have the Dolphins. They don't move. Of course, they had their bye week this week, but we see a lot of teams move when they go into their bye week, either because an injury happens at practice, which is pretty rare, but sometimes it does happen, or, of course, teams moving around them will bump them around. But no, the Dolphins, they stay in one spot, and yeah, I think that's the first one we've seen yet other than the Jets. And 21st, we have the Eagles who bump up a couple because they're showing signs of life. I know I say there's a lot of teams down here, but they're showing signs of life. Their offense, they have played pretty well. Obviously, they beat the 49ers. They beat the Giants. Not very good teams, but they are definitely showing that they are not down there. They are not in the bottom 8. They are not terrible. They are not very good, but they are also not bad. They are desperately trying to stay afloat. They're saying we are not rebuilding. We are just bad. In my opinion, I think they're still pretty bad, but they did show a lot of good things this Sunday. In my opinion, I think they showed a pretty good amount of things these past couple of weeks. Good enough to bump up to the 21st. Not in the top 20, but still not doing very good. The Eagles at 21st instead of 27th. At 20th, we have the Panthers. Don't move up very much. And a lot of that has to do with teams moving around them. I think they showed up this week, and they showed up hard. They only lost by 3 to the Saints. They only scored 24 points, but that defense only allowed 27 points to one of the best offenses in the league in the Saints. They showed that they are a competitor. They showed that they can keep it close with any team. They are showing that we are insanely underrated. They only have a 3-4 record. They probably are going to not make, it'll be a stretch, but I think they do have a chance to make the playoffs this year. The NFC West, though, could be a problem for the Panthers' playoff hopes. But I definitely think that next year they could definitely be a big force, especially if they, buff up that defense with, some veteran players or something to teach those rookies how it's done. This upcoming matchup against the Falcons, though, they have a pretty good chance to get back up to .500. They are still hanging on to some hope. They definitely still are in it in their division. They are definitely still in it in this wild card race, and we'll see what they can do. At 19th, we have the Lions who bump up 5. 2 straight wins. They have been looking really good. One of the most underrated teams in the league, in my opinion. They stay in it. Matthew Stafford has made some good throws over these past couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to see what they can do. They are 3-3, and I think that they are ready to take off. I think that they can keep. I honestly think that they are a very good team, in my opinion. Definitely better than a lot of, obviously they're 19th. I don't think they're very good, but I think they're a lot better than people say they are, and I definitely think that they do still. I think they're a very sneaky team, and I think that they do have a chance at making a playoff run. It definitely still is a stretch. It's a stretch for anyone below 16, really, but I think they could make a playoff run. Starting at 21, we have teams. Starting at 21, we kind of have teams that could make a playoff run. And then at 18th, we have the Bears. yeah, I don't know how they move up. They had a terrible showing on Monday. I think a lot of that, again, I say this a lot. I think a lot of that has to do with teams moving around them. I don't know exactly how, but still, Nick Foles. I mean, they didn't play. They played terribly. Okay, they lost 24-10. And you might be thinking, oh, well, I mean, at least they kept it within 14, and the Rams are really good. So I mean, it's kind of no. The touchdown that they got, the one touchdown that they got, was a fumble return for a touchdown. Their offense, it looked atrocious this week. Their offense really hasn't looked too good. They might be the worst 5-2 team of all time. I think that they definitely need to step things up. They're in a very good position for the type of talent that they have. They really need to step things up. They need to, take advantage of the fact that they got some easy wins and they're now 5-2. They went 3-0, and now they've gone, 2-2 after that. If this continues, that could end up being pretty bad. We're looking at, 9-7, 8-8 record, which is never good. But the Bears, again, it'll be a stretch. I definitely think that we have seen things that obviously are pretty good. But this offense, it has been off and on all year. And I think they'll just have to turn the switch to on, or they'll have a lot of work to do this offseason. At 17th, we have the Patriots, who dropped down for, Cam Newton had an absolutely terrible game. They dropped to 2-4. Terrible play we saw on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. The defense, I know I just said a lot of this with to do with the Falcons and the Texans, but they are looking to trade Stephon Gilmore, which isn't. He was Defensive Player of the Year last year. I know, kind of the same. This is different in my opinion than the Will Fuller and Julio Jones trades, because on those teams they do still have a lot of other talent, and the Patriots, they do still have a lot of other talent, but. That might be the best player on your team right now, and I don't care what type of picks or players you can get for him. I think you keep him on your team for as much as possible, because any draft can be a bust. But from what we've seen, Stephon Gilmore is still elite. But the Patriots right now, they still do have Stephon Gilmore. They got completely trampled, so they dropped down 4. And right now, 2-4, it's over. The dynasty, in my opinion, is over. Cam Newton not looking good. And thank you guys so much for watching. That was it. We did the top 16, and I hope to see you in the that was the bottom 16. I hope to see you in the top 16. If you like NFL content, we do predictions, we do power rankings, we do reactions, we do all kinds of stuff. I didn't do a weekly reaction this year. I actually posted it, but it was silent, and I don't know how. So I just instantly privated it. And yeah, but anyways, thank you guys all so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Follow all my socials in the description. Subscribe, like the video, do all that stuff. Go watch the next one, or don't. I don't really care. Thank you guys all so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. In fact, I know I will, or else.